Welcome to the Leadership Purpose with Robin podcast. I'm your host, Robin L. Owens, PhD, and this is where we dive in each week to give advice, tools, and tips for high-achieving women leaders, and we talk about leadership purpose and its importance for you. I am a college professor, and when I am not doing that, I am speaking, writing, coaching, mentoring, and teaching high-achieving women leaders how to find, and not only find, but how to stay in alignment with their leadership purpose so they can make a meaningful difference right there in their career, leadership, or business. Okay, let's dive in. Before we get into the episode, I have an exciting invitation for you. Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Robin, and I want to let you know and invite you to a new group I started. It's called the Leadership Purpose Community. The Leadership Purpose Community. And it's a group that I think would be a really good fit for you as a listener of the podcast, because it's an extension of the podcast and we discuss a lot of the issues we do in the podcast and even more. And we'll be focusing on finding fulfillment in our work through leadership purpose. We'll address issues that face high-achieving women, issues and challenges, and we also will celebrate the achievements of high-achieving women. And you know, as I always say, what I mean by high-achieving women, women who are professional, ambitious, goal-oriented, doing all the things and supporting everyone else. This group is for you. And so I think you'd really enjoy it. And I'd love to have you come and join us. Love, love, love to have you come and join us. So if you're interested, come on over to Facebook and search for the Leadership Purpose Community, or go directly to the website, www.facebook.com/groups/Leadership Purpose Community. Again, www.facebook.com/groups/Leadership Purpose Community. I'd really love for you to join us. Hope to see you there. Okay, let's get to the episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin podcast. So glad that you take time out of your busy day and schedule to listen into the podcast. We really appreciate you. And today I am talking with none other than Tina Greenbaum. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Tina. Tina Greenbaum is a seasoned executive coach who has been helping executives for over 37 years. She has worked in Washington, D.C., New York City, and San Francisco, helping leaders improve their leadership skills. She took her success in training Olympic-level athletes, actors, dancers, and performers. And then she applied that knowledge for her clients in business and government. And today she's a trusted advisor to work with leaders who have the potential to impact the world in a positive way. Welcome, Tina Greenbaum.
Oh, that sounds like a person I'd like to know.
You know her very well. So that was the bio. Why don't we just jump right in and you tell us about you and then about the work you do.
Absolutely. So I have moved in all those different places. And with that, I'm a psychotherapist by training. I'm actually a clinical social worker. And so I'm a therapist who coaches. People ask me all the time, like, are you a coach? Are you this? Are you that? I just really see myself, honestly, as a teacher. I have accumulated all these skills over the years, and I love to teach them. And so I started out as an elementary and special ed teacher, found out that I was not very good at bulletin boards and math and science and all that, and went back to get my master's in social work. And it's been a love affair with this profession. It's going on 38 years, and I still love it, and learning and growing and helping people.
Yes, yes. And I like that you decided to make a change when you were doing something that wasn't working for you, what you realized. Was there a defining moment? Was there something in particular that helped you make that shift? If so, share that with us.
Yeah, there were two pieces. One was when I was in this school and I was teaching, and there was a social worker and a psychologist would come in and they'd pull out the kids to work with them and their families and work on the psychological things. And that was so much more interesting to me than the actual subject matter that I was teaching that did not have a lot of expertise in. So that kind of got my wheels going of wanting to go back to school. And I got a master's in counseling and guidance because at that time there was no night school for social workers. I was teaching full time and I couldn't afford to not teach. And so this was a program that was offered at night, but I didn't really want to work in the schools. The idea of working as a psychotherapist, I've always been interested in business as well. So organizational development was kind of out there. But what I love about being a psychotherapist is I have permission to go to the source of the problem. So in many other situations where I could see it, but again, I'm not entitled to go there because that wouldn't be my job. I like to be really effective, and I like to go to find those little nuggets that are the source, and then things can open up dramatically. So that was that. And then I did a personal growth training. And at that time, I told it a little bit I was working with my ex-husband in the art business, and he loved having me work for him. He'd like to say we were working together, but I was really working for him. And I did this personal growth training, and they said, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? It's like, oh my God, I hate what I'm doing. I want to be a therapist. And so that's when I went from that counseling thing to go back from my master's in social work. And then it was like, my experience is when you're in the right field and you're getting nourished by the knowledge of what it is that you're craving to learn, it is like being fed. It's really being nourished by, that's how that works. And that's how that works. And the human behavior was so interesting. And so like, really, how do I help people to change at a fundamental level? That's really been the question, because the body gets triggered before the mind. So I found in my first job, I was working with women with eating disorders, and we would talk and talk and talk and talk. And they would tell me about their mother and their father, their sister, their brother, but they weren't changing. And so I got to get under the conscious mind, because that's where all the action is. And that's kind of what the path.
Yes, that's very interesting. And do you incorporate that in your work today?
All of it. Absolutely. All of it. Yes. So from the years as a traditional, I never was a traditional psychotherapist. I was always like at the edge of, that's not working. Let me find out what works, because all I really cared about what was effective and what worked. And so I've been using all of this and combining energy work and psychospiritual and learning theory. And now the neuroscience is proving a lot of the things in my earlier years that I just kind of found by my nose, kind of studying yoga and yoga psychology and meditation and all the Eastern thought. But it really was about quieting the body so that the mind can be clear. Now, at this later date, in all the training, I have an understanding of how that happens and why it happens and how necessary it is.
Yes, yes. And so in all that you're doing in this work, tell us what you enjoy about it most, the thing that really lights you up the most. And then tell us why, too.
Okay, so one of the things that really lights me up is doing exactly what we're doing right now, is being on a podcast, being in front of people, speaking and teaching. I've learned even through the pandemic that even leading a group online, if I have a group in front of me, it's also very nourishing and exciting and lights me up. I think the why, I have a lot to share. I was gifted by a very gifted mother who was extremely wise. And from what I've learned from my parents, but also I'm naturally intuitive and wise. I don't know where this stuff comes from. And so it's just really fun to be able to light people up and, I never thought about it that way. Or, that one little sentence that you taught me, wow, and everything shifted and changed. And that's what's really fun. And I love working in groups. I love the dynamic of people and the energy.
Yes. And is there one that you remember that maybe many people have a similar aha moment? Is there a pattern or just one that you remember that you can share when somebody finally had an aha or the light came on for them in one way?
So yes, and it's been repeated many times, actually. And so I just did this on another podcast the other day. So if you're up for it, we'll do it by an experience. Are you up for it?
Yes. And then will you share the pattern afterwards?
Yes, of course.
Okay, go ahead.
It's the same pattern, right?
Yes.
So basically, I ask people, and anybody that's listening, you can do this along with us, a challenge that you have. It doesn't have to be something that's so dramatic, but just something that you'd love to get beyond, that it just kind of keeps nagging back at you. So if you could name something, and again, you don't have to say anything, what it is, but just so that you have it in your mind, right? And when you have it, just give me a little heads up so I know that you got something.
Okay, I have it.
Okay, probably does something. And so what I'd like you to do is just close your eyes for a moment and scan from head all the way down to your toe and see if you can find that challenge in your body. Where does it live in your body?
Got it.
You got it. Can you share that with us?
Yes, I can share the challenge and where it is.
Okay.
The challenge is what we discussed before we came on the podcast.
Okay.
Juggling, scheduling, and that kind of thing, right? Just kind of having growing pains with lots of things to do and lots of growth and lots of moving parts. So
Yes.
Scheduling. And in my body, my midsection.
Right in your midsection. Okay. So we have within us different parts of our body. In yoga, they're called chakras. They're energy centers that hold particular emotions. And also our body holds our history. So I'm going to ask you to kind of pay attention to that little part in your stomach for a moment. And again, you can close your eyes or not, and just focus on it. You're not going to try to change it. You're not going to relax it. You're just going to notice. Okay. And what do you notice? Thoughts, feelings, associations, pictures, images, anything.
A little bit calmer. I was a little bit calmer about it. Mm-hmm. A little bit calmer.
Okay.
And settled.
Right? So we haven't talked about anything. Your own body is sort of guiding you. It's speaking to you. You're paying attention to what's calling you, right? So when we put our attention and our intention and we focus on the place in the body that holds the emotion, it could go many different ways. For you, it calmed you down. Sometimes for people, it'll bring back a memory. Sometimes and then if I, really working with you at a longer period of time, we can find the pattern that repeats over and over and over and over again that's connected to this particular kind of issue, right? So we might pick another issue that has something to do with maybe somebody who's recently lost somebody or holding grief, and they may find it in a different part of their body, most likely in their heart. And then, as we put our attention and our intention, all kinds of memories and thoughts and feelings. But the beauty of all this is that if we let it roll, the bigger wisdom, which is just what happened to you in a split second, comes in, starts to problem solve, right? And the more personal growth work that you have done, the quicker it goes.
Yes.
Because our behavior runs in patterns. People talk, I just had a client this morning, and we were talking, she's got this going on back, and all this stuff in it. And I said, there's not that many themes. There's only a couple. We only have a couple. There's an infinite variation on them. Everybody's got their own sort of story. But as humans, we only have so many themes. And once you understand your own patterns, and you can begin to start to recognize them quite quickly. So for this woman who is in nursing, and she's a giver, and her belief system is that a great nurse makes everybody feel comfortable. But what she does is her boundaries aren't strong enough. So she gives too much. And she ends up depleted. So we did something just very similar to this. Where do you feel it? Oh, I feel it here. How does it present itself? Oh, it clutches in my stomach. So that's your way in. That's your way in actually to your unconscious. It's operating without your awareness, right? You start to become aware, and then, I start to recognize, the thoughts and the feelings. Oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling this, and my stomach tightens up. Okay, now I've got it. Thing that's bugging me. All right, now what am I going to do about it? Right? Because our tendency is when we have these feelings is we want to avoid them. But by avoiding them, then they grow. They just get bigger. And so by bringing it close in and really kind of putting the flashlight on it, we bring the light, Enlightenment is bringing the light to those dark places. Oh, yes, I know how to deal with that. Or I could ask for help for that, or any number of things.
I see. So it's bringing your awareness. It brings you to a place of awareness. So then you could respond to it appropriately. Ah, I see. I see. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that exercise. And I'm glad I had a chance to do that and I could do it later. And, it's interesting. I typically ask people, and I still ask from even though you gave us already, that tool that you just gave us was a very valuable tool. But I always ask, so I want to be consistent with this question. What's some other, because you gave us what's some other advice or hint or tool that you like to give to our listeners? Now, let me tell you who I think the listeners are.
Okay.
So you can tailor your approach to the listener, because I'm sure you have several. So the listener is a high achieving woman, a woman who is professional, ambitious, goal oriented, doing all the things, could be in a leadership role officially or unofficially, or she's the one that is supporting people in her personal life and in her professional life, and oftentimes makes it look so easy. So other people think, well, she doesn't need support.
Right.
So when I created the podcast, I thought, wouldn't it be great to have people come on and give some piece of advice to the person I just described?
And the person you just described is actually my avatar, sort of the client that I have spent many years working with and really, really love and adore, because I really love big minds and people who are creative and forward thinking and really want to make great changes in the world. And so a couple of things that I would say to them. One is we're all given the same number of hours in a day, and we all have to work within that framework, no matter who you are, no matter what you are, no matter how much you think that you can do. The truth is that we as humans have certain limitations and certain criteria, like we need sleep, we need nutrition, we need nurturing, we need, a bunch of things in order to make this powerful machine operate. And so I think that's one of the hardest things when you look at people and think, oh, they have it all together or they can do this. I remember I had a client one time who was pregnant and a lawyer and looking to become a partner in a law firm. And so she was, 100%. And she said, she was exhausted. I mean, she was absolutely exhausted. And she said, other women do this. And I said, no, they don't. They don't do it well. And the hardest thing, I raised 3 kids and had a profession and went to school and did all these things while I was raising my family. And again, my mother, who was, used to say to me, for everything, there's a season. And I chose to have those children. I chose to be a mom. And so I organized my life around being a professional woman, working 20 hours a week instead of 40 or 60 hours a week, and raising my children. And then when my children grew up and they didn't need that kind of attention, I always used to ask myself, what would it look like if I really used my potential? And so in these years, that's what I'm doing. I have more time, I have more space, I can do this. And so I'm all out. And for your listeners to know, I'm 74. So I'm not a little kid, but I feel like I'm in the prime because I have, again, all these years of experience behind me, and that's how much more I can share.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good for you for sharing that and sharing from your wisdom in your 74 years. Now, as you know, the podcast is Leadership Purpose. And so when you hear the term leadership purpose, what comes to your mind?
What I really think about when I think about leadership purpose, well, first I think about leadership and what is true about great leaders. And great leaders have a certain, I think the real great leaders innately can see things before anybody else sees them. So if you think about, I remember doing a training at one time and I was an assistant. I was assisting my teacher. And he said, what I love about having you be my assistant is that you anticipate what's happening before I even get there.
Yes.
And so people who have that sort of innate emotional intelligence, it becomes the most natural thing in the world to lead, to be, if you go back again to your early years, I don't know about you, but my guess is that people were asking you for your advice.
Yes, that's true.
And that's true for many. Somebody asked me, like, well, how long have you been doing this? I don't know. And I was this big, and at the same time, I always had to kind of be careful that I didn't come on too strong. And that was the real learning in terms of leadership and how to manage really this powerful energy, Yeah. And I remember in junior high school, it was like, don't be conceited. Don't let anybody know that you know all this stuff. And so having to play small and be small to be part of the group. So there's a lot of internal stuff that goes on, and leadership skills then can then be developed and really kind of learn. I'm just writing an article about having difficult conversations.
Yes.
Right. As a leader, you have to be able to do this. Well, what do you need to know? You need to know how you are in, number one, receiving them. And so if you're on the receiving, and you're on the giving end, how do you want that person to receive you? How can they best hear you? And then this comes into, listening skills and assertiveness skills. And so there's many, many skills to learn, taking your innate talent and then, growing with it.
Yes. Makes so much sense. All those things are central to leadership. Yeah.
Yeah. And as your purpose in my definition is to then take these skills and teach others to be able to lead others.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So learn your leadership skills and then teach them to others.
That's right. And I'm part of a women's mastermind group, and we meet every Wednesday morning. Now it's good 3 years. And as the leader, you have to be the role model. You can't slide and, run that slippery slope and then expect people to follow you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Tina, this has been very enriching. And I am imagining there are people listening right now who would like to know how to connect with you and hear more from you. So where can they connect with you?
Well, they can reach me, and my email is tina@masteryunderpressure. And if you just look at Mastery Under Pressure, because that is my program, that's what I teach. It's really being able to be that leader, to be able to manage your emotions and the whole roller coaster and looking calm, cool, and collected. And so Mastery Under Pressure, I have a book that's on Amazon. It's on my website. My website is Mastery Under Pressure. So you can find me in any of those ways. And I have a quiz that if people want to start looking at where they sit on this pressure continuum, being anxious at one point and being at peak performance on the other, you can go to masteryunderpressure.net.
Oh, masteryunderpressure.net. You heard that, everybody. Go check out that quiz and see where you are on that pressure. What end of the pressure spectrum you're on.
Right. And then my site is masteryunderpressure.com.
Okay, Mastery Under Pressure. Okay. All right. That's wonderful, Tina. So glad that you took time out of your day. I know you're very busy and it's a full week already. So thank you for taking time out and sharing your wisdom from your heart. We feel your heart and your energy and your generosity. So thank you for being here. Okay, everyone. And if you want to know more about me, you can reach me on my website, robinlowens.com, robinlowens.com, or I'd love to get a message from you on social media, on any of your favorite sites. Pick any site that's your favorite and contact me at Robin L. Owens, PhD, Robin L. Owens, PhD. And I'd love to hear from you. Okay, everyone, until next time, this is Dr. Robin. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Leadership Purpose with Robin podcast. If you enjoyed it, head on over and rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode. New episodes drop every week, and I can't wait to hang out with you again soon. Meanwhile, this is Robin signing off. See you next time.